Frame Raider.
Last time on Frame Raider, we took a look at some great arcade emulations on the Xbox Live Arcade. Initially, the idea was to continue this series with arcade remakes and sequels, but I got a bunch of comments regarding other specific titles, a couple genuine ports, and a unique hub called Game Room. We'll be taking a further look into this stuff today. Let's start with Treasure's famous shoot-em-ups, since they were supposed to be in my last video, but I'll save you the technical gabber. These were highly requested games, and deservingly so, as they're often seen as highlights for their genre. Radiant Silvergun has an excellent port with more options than what we're used to seeing at this point. You can change the HUD, alter control settings, there are new wallpapers, and you can even change the brightness of them. This and its sequel Ikaruga look, play, and control beautifully on the 360. These are great shmups with cult followings. Now, I personally prefer Ikaruga because it has this very addictive mechanic where you switch polarities to determine which projectiles are safe or deadly. These two games are fully playable and cooperative. Great with friends. I got a gamer picture! Don't think I've mentioned these yet, have I? They're used to change your Xbox Live profile icon. A lot of games have these, which would unlock upon booting a corresponding game for its first time. You could also buy them separately, which is very interesting in the case of delisted games that still have theirs available for purchase. Afterburner Climax by Sega. First delisted game of the day. This is a more modern arcade game which was released in 2006 and ported to home consoles in 2010. Man, this game is fun. From the incredible speed to the gorgeous visuals. It's an easy game for anyone to pick up and play, and if you find yourself breezing through it, you can always increase the difficulty in the options. Never came across any slowdowns here, though I didn't really expect to. This isn't being treated like a returning classic as other older arcade games were. This is more like a proper home port of the game, an excellent one at that. You've got to experience this 1080p 60fps glory for yourself in person. Simply beautiful. For old time's sake, let's take a look at another digital Eclipse emulation. Discs of Tron. This one's really cool. You're given the same options as seen in their other works, but this time the background is made to look like a futuristic city. At least that goes for the enhanced graphics option. Otherwise you can use the original graphics, but in this case I'm really not sure why you would because the enhanced graphics are awesome. It was pointed out to me last time that the original Tron arcade game isn't delisted like I thought it was. I'll have to take a second look at this. It's not there. Oh hey, there's discs of Tron, but still no... Here's Triggerheart Exelica by Warashi. First thing I always do is check out the options. I can change the controls, there are game switches to customize your experience, different screen types, wallpapers. There's also a place to learn about the story and characters. The game plays like a typical bullet hell. You've got 4 health points here, so make them count while collecting those delicious nacho chips. The game tends to slow just a little when using your special attack, but otherwise, I hadn't noticed anything that seemed unusual. KOF Sky Stage by Moss, based on the popular King of Fighters series by SNK. Wow, I literally haven't even pushed a button yet, and there's an achievement. As a recognizable IP from a different genre altogether, there's a level of presentation here that goes beyond the rest I've seen. I like how there's 2 text boxes that are visible at once, Nintendo DS style. Here, if you accidentally skip the first one, you can still read it. It's very practical. Sky Stage is a fun game with a whole bunch of great options, including the ability to throw your HUD outside of the game window. And hey, look at that, this window you're able to resize. To absurd heights, in fact. You can also rotate the screen and customize your game settings. Beyond that, the game plays great, and despite the constant chaos, it runs at a consistent frame rate. Still pretty funny to me, with the familiarity to King of Fighters being part of the fighting genre. Oh hey, this gives us the perfect opportunity to transition into the next genre. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. Quite a long name. This is a remaster of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo with optional new graphics, music, gameplay tweaks, and online play. These were each contributed by established Street Fighter fans. For those who don't know how to play, there's a training mode, though from what I can tell it just puts you against a standstill opponent, and you'll have to consult the menu to learn yourself. You can choose between original or HD sprites? Wait, what? No background swap? Personally, I find this clash is pretty hard. To each their own. The port has a great selection of options, handicaps, screen settings, a whole 5 pages dedicated to the board's dip switches. Now, I'm awful at fighting games, thus never really play them. On the easiest difficulty, I got my ass handed to me, which really wasn't surprising. I decided to see what the community thinks of this game, and from what I can tell, it's at least somewhat controversial. Now, there are plenty of fans who believe it's one of the best Street Fighter experiences out there, but alas, there are others who hate the new graphics so much that they won't dare touch it. Not my words, but I will admit it lacks a certain charm that the original had. Regarding performance, the game runs flawlessly. I imagine for those who aren't too picky about its visuals, this is still a great choice. Though I can't personally vouch for how easy or hard it is to get into an online match these days. This release is still available to buy digitally. However, you can also get it in a retail disc, Capcom Digital Collection. Let me tell you, it took a while for me to figure out whether this game was or wasn't delisted, because its title is Super Street Fighter 2 THD. With the 360's borked searching system, you won't find it by any other means than typing exactly that. At least that's the only way I managed to find it. Now, if you're not a Turbo HD Remix fan, XBLA does have a port of Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. Soul Calibur. This one was delisted only a couple months ago as of posting. There are codes out there that you can buy which still activate on the store, but who knows how many of those are still in circulation. If you want this, you might have to act fast. I've never played this game before, and I'm sorry, there's a character called Lizard Man?
Lizard Man!
Lizard Man! I actually had a lot of fun playing this game. It's fast-paced, and the easier difficulties aren't brutal like many of the others. I completed a full arcade playthrough, which I honestly didn't expect to do, but I could not get enough of Lizard Man. You can play the arcade mode, battle with a friend. There's also a survival mode, and I especially like that with the sudden death rule. Seeing these proud, heroic warriors fall in one hit got a pretty good laugh out of me.
Versus Edgemaster. Final battle, fight!
The menus for Soul Calibur are very simple, but there's a lot to go through here, including options to change around the game's HUD. Regarding bonus content, there's an abundance. You can go through plenty of artwork, character profiles, and then it gets really cool with the ability to watch CPUs duke it out.
Lizard Man versus Lizard Man.
Once you've had enough of that, you can watch your favorite characters perform endless moves in the exhibition theater. You can also do this. Both modes let you activate a free camera setting, which lets you get an enhanced look at the action. Sonic the Fighters. Yeah, we already looked at this one last time, but this is round 2! Well, as it turns out, I missed a couple exclusive features from this version of the game. In the character selection menu, if you press Start on Sonic... Okay, so you have to be in a versus battle only. Here you can swap out Sonic for Metal Sonic. Then do the same with Bean the Dynamite to play as Dr. Robotnik. These are both super characters which would mess with the arcade mode's balancing, probably being why you can't select them there. Since these were previously unintended characters for play, there is a little derpiness. For example, when Robotnik wins, there's no victory animation, so he just kinda sits there. So what about the third character then? This is selected by pressing Start on Amy. Now you can play as Honey the Cat, which is a character based off another AM2 game, Fighting Vipers. Speaking of which, that game is also on the XBLA, so while we're here, we might as well take a brief look. This was handled in the exact same fashion as Sonic the Fighters, so in terms of presentation, there's not too much to say. Never played this before, ran it for about 30 minutes, and I'll say one thing, being able to blast your opponent out of the ring is very satisfying. Here's Double Dragon with enhanced graphics. Well, that's how it's being advertised. Frankly, I think these new graphics are kinda awkward. Doesn't matter too much since the original graphics are still an option. Also, the game's been delisted, so you couldn't buy it even if you wanted to. The options are pretty dang similar to other arcade re-releases from this generation. I can't say this is a horrible way to play Double Dragon as long as you're using the original graphics. Man, this game is tough. Super Hang-On isn't a standalone release on the XBLA. It's part of a collection called Alex Kidd & Co. You're able to choose between the two releases of the game, whether Mini Ride-On or Upright. The Upright version is said to be more difficult. There are some 3D glasses options, that's neat. I have some red Scions of my own lying around, so I tried it out. They give you display depth and focal point options here, which means you should be good no matter what kind of 3D glasses you're using. 3 wallpaper choices here. There's also smoothing, which I don't recommend. There are optional scan lines to mimic a CRT display. They're a bit extreme, I wouldn't use them. The game ran perfectly without a slowdown in sight, so there's nothing to worry about there. There's a jukebox-style sound test complete with FM and PCM visualizers. Leave it to Sega to prove time and time again how retro game soundtracks are an art of their own. This release for Sega's Vintage Collection is pretty awesome, having way more options than what was available for Altered Beast. I hope Super Hang-On was enough of a reminder for you to hang on, because coming up next, we've got something really special, and unfortunately, really delisted. This is the Game Room, supported by Microsoft and developed by Chrome Studios. Yes, those same Ty the Tasmanian Tiger people. There is so much to unpack here, and I'm not even talking about the sheer number of DLC packs. Nonetheless, take a look at all the games you can collect here. Game Room is an interactive experience. Oh, there's my avatar doing something. Game Room is an interactive experience with the ability to create your own custom arcade rooms to play in. Each room has space for 8 different arcade machines, and every game in your collection can be placed, whether arcade, Atari 2600, or in Intellivision classics. That's right, this expands beyond the arcade into console games from the second console generation. Their selection of 2600 and Intellivision games is great. You've got most of the popular choices here. However, none of Imagic's games are present, which would have been nice to see. Arcade games are being emulated, which is apparent by the boot screens, which most collections hide. Some people prefer to see these. It's certainly more authentic. I think an option to skip would have been nice though, as some can be quite long to sit through each time. Customizing your arcade space is great fun, especially as you can see other avatars playing once you've set some machines down. There's also plenty of decor to choose from. You've got 4 spaces on each floor, and there's 3 floors. They've got loads of different themes, most of which have to be unlocked. This can be done through collecting medals that are awarded for completing various tasks in-game. Chrome has done a great job with the presentation here by preserving original cabinet art and marquees. It's mostly accurate. Some show basic company logos for art and simple fonts for the marquee. They really couldn't find the marquee for Scramble? For playing games, you can choose from a variety of different backgrounds. You can see the arcade behind you, the surrounding cabinet, or no background altogether. You've got access to zoom features, which enlarge and or decrease the play window. There's also optional scan lines, which, I'll be damned, look pretty good. Arcade games have dip switches that you can tinker with. Home console games have overlays, of which the Intellivisions are always unique. The player can choose to rewind the game at any time in their will with the press of a button, then playing a familiar sound effect with some visual distortions. Each and every game has instructions and alternate controller setups, which to me shows a certain level of dedication you won't easily find elsewhere. They really cared about this collection of games and respected the hell out of its source material. I am absolutely blown away here. In my last video, I mentioned how you can't play Atari's Tempest XBLA game with the arcade stick. Well, here you can. Sadly, installing Game Room now will never be the same as it was. Back in the day, it had a lot of Xbox Live features, which let you compete with your friends and post leaderboard scores. Sure wish I could view challenges or create one to send to a friend. Thankfully, all single-player and local multiplayer options appear to work fine. Now, the rumor is that some games don't play 100%. I couldn't find any issues with the arcade games I tried, but I did notice a very slight slowdown in Mega Mania for the Atari 2600. I'm sure if it's applicable to this game, then it probably is for some other 2600 games too. However, that's just their 2600 emulator, and again, I had no issues with Intellivision or arcade. Oh, but in case you're wondering about paddle-controlled games, yeah, they're no better than other previous collections, honestly. This never translates super well. From what I can make out, the issues in arcade emulation should be minimal, as I fooled around for about 2 hours trying many different games and nothing stuck out as unusual. Now, again, just to clarify, this is not a standalone collection. You would have to buy games and DLC packs to gain access to them in the game room. This game has been a point of controversy for some. There are several archived threads of people being a bit frustrated for games being overcharged. From what I can tell, they were priced at $3 a piece, which is a bit of a hard sell knowing plenty of past-gen collections would contain far more games for a smaller price tag overall. Game Room had another option for single plays, which would let you enjoy a single 10-minute session of one available game for the equivalent of 50 cents in your Xbox wallet. I believe their intention was for this to feel as close to a real arcade as possible, including the immersion of paying small fees in exchange for gameplay. How you feel about that is up to you, really. With 40 arcade games to pick from, I'm just gonna suggest not being a completionist here. Don't matter anymore regardless, since the game is now delisted, and the only way to even play it is by getting the whole dang thing for free. So these have been the arcade re-releases and emulations on Xbox Live Arcade that I decided to take a closer look at. We've gone through plenty of gems together, and a few less than stellar attempts, but overall a very positive experience. I encourage you to take a look into this stuff yourself, if you can, because the accessibility just isn't what it used to be and is really only just getting worse by the day. A modded 360 is something that most gamers would benefit from. It's just a shame how difficult this is to achieve more than 15 years later. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you frame raiders in the next video.